We have to update you on the PGA Tour announcement this morning that the PGA Tour and the PIF, which is also Live Golf, would be merging through the framework of an agreement. The Public Investment Fund is contributing its golf-related commercial business and rights, including Live Golf, along with a significant financial investment toward minority equity ownership of a new collectively held for-profit LLC. Now, a lot of questions here, a lot of uproar today. The reason that this pod, I didn't start recording this pod till 3 Central is because all the reading I have to do to get you up to date on this, besides just the locks that you need going into Canada. And I think there's a couple questions. Number one, is this a win for Live Golf? And you have to be very careful here because the Saudis' investment actually has nothing to do with Live Golf. The Live Golf product was not a success. They will continue until the 2023 Live Golf schedule will continue as planned until the end of the year. But ultimately, this came down to the fact that their team play was a total failure with zero commercial interest. Their, assistant to the crown prince or whatever his title is, Yasir, basically, saw Live failing, saw it not getting a rating, saw it on the CW network, saw it not getting commercial interest from American companies. And Yasir basically put his hands up, met Jay Monahan in London and said, we'll become a premier sponsor of the PGA Tour and DP World Tour if you let the PIF make an additional investment to this new LLC. So basically, the PGA Tour was bought to some extent. We don't know all the details of that yet. Johnson Wagner, contributor to 5 Clubs and Golf Channel, made an excellent point today. The PGA Tour seems fine and well this year. They've had an excellent roster of winners. I've said it before on here. I am not a fan of outside countries coming in and buying American franchises or leagues. I like that community ownership feel that the Green Bay Packers have, even though, ownerships like that with how much money is in sports now are, almost dead and gone. But the bottom line is here, we don't know the details of what the schedule is going to look like. The PGA Tour has said a couple things, though. They will conduct a comprehensive evaluation of Live Golf and determine how best to integrate team golf into professional into the professional golf, into the PGA Tour. I think team golf will be over after this year for Live, but the 2023 Live schedule will continue as planned. And as far as allowing Live players back on the PGA Tour, I think that's going to all go through relatively drama-free. The PGA Tour has announced they're going to work cooperatively to establish a fair and objective process for any players who desire to reapply for membership with the PGA Tour or the DP World Tour following the completion of the 2023 season. So DJ, Phil, they'll all be back. This was, to me, a sad day in golf. It feels like golf just got bought. Obviously, more money in players' pockets, hopefully, is the goal here, and also to continue the history and the charity and the giving that the PGA Tour does on a weekly basis. But, a lot to unpack here. The next update I'll give you is going to be basically when the 2024 schedule comes out, because at that point, we will know if we see Live team events on the schedule. You could say maybe Live 1, but if you're basically just seeing the PIF money pit become a sponsor or a corporate sponsor of 8 to 9 events on the PGA Tour, well, maybe the PGA Tour was feeling the pressure of the elevated events this year. They've had to spend some money out of pocket. And of course, Jay Monahan, I got to say it, he collapsed and he took the investment from the Saudis. So We'll see how that pans out for Monahan. A lot of players pissed off. Some ones we're going to be talking about today: Rory McIlroy, Matthew Fitzpatrick, some guys that have gone to bat for the PGA Tour over the last year and turned down sums of money up to $500 million. They're going to be super pissed off. But for now, we're going to have to wait for any updates on the schedule, and we'll reevaluate at that time when we get that information. Back to the RBC Canadian Open. The order of play today, we'll be discussing the top 5 favorites on the odds list. We'll get you some matchups and picks to place. I'll give you a winner and a sleeper for the week, and we'll wrap things up with a lineup, scoring prediction, first round leader, and best bet. Okay, starting with Rory McIlroy at plus 550 on Bovada. Rory played well at the Memorial, recording a second straight top 10 finish. Rory is going for a three-peat this week at the Canadian Open. As I told you, when KH Lee was trying to three-peat at the Byron Nelson, no one has done that since Stricker at the John Deere in the early 2010s. But my 2 issues with Rory this week are, number one, I don't think he can make enough putts on this birdie fest to win. You'll hear my scoring prediction in a bit. It's between 20 and 25 under. And number 2, I think there's been a cloud of distraction for Rory over the last several weeks. We found out today what that distraction was. He turned down $500+ million from LIV last year. He went to bat for the PGA Tour, showing up at every event and talking, answering every question at every event. And now the two sides are merging, meaning Rory probably forfeited quite a bit of money for no real reason. So between the players meeting at 4 p.m. today, and I wouldn't put it past Rory to just withdraw this week. I know he shows up for the people of Canada, wants to three-peat. I wouldn't blame him if he just went straight to LA, start getting prepped for the US Open, and just letting all of this kind of take a rest before he, wastes a bunch of energy this week, possibly doesn't play well at Canada. So I don't see him three-peating. I'm out on Rory McIlroy this week. All right, continuing with the second favorite, Tyrrell Hatton, 12-1 on Circa and Bovada. Hatton enters Oakdale off 4 straight top 20 finishes after a second place finish at the Players and a top 15 at the PGA Championship. I'm really convinced that 31-year-old Hatton is playing some of the best golf of his career. He's currently 3rd on the PGA Tour in strokes gained total and is a viable option for this week. Most of his matchups are overpriced, and he's not on my card, but you can't go wrong with Tyrrell Hatton this week at Oakdale. Next up is Sam Burns at 15-1 on Circa. And the Dell Match Play winner comes into Toronto off back-to-back top 20 finishes at the Charles Schwab in Fort Worth in the Memorial Tournament last week. And when you look back a year ago at St. George, Burns finished 4th and has a great feel for the Canadian style of golf, a lot of fairways, a lot of made putts. He's currently 9th in strokes gained putting on the PGA Tour, which is an important stat to look at this week. And the matchup I'll look to cash in on is Sam Burns over Rory McIlroy at plus 175 on Bet365. And come matchups, I'll also have another matchup for you with Sam Burns in there as well. Next is going to be Matthew Fitzpatrick at 16-1 on Bet365. Fitzpatrick is 1 week away from defending his title at the US Open. And from what we saw in his 9th place finish at the Memorial, is he appears to be gearing up to do exactly that. From tee to green, he did everything right at Jack's Place after struggling with his putter at the PGA Championship. He struggled with the irons at times this year, still ranks 104th as far as approach is concerned for Fitzpatrick. And I'm going to pass on Fitzpatrick this week due to the amount of birdies the eventual winner will have to make. I'm not sure that Fitzpatrick can get to 23 to 25 under with this current putting form, as he ranks 66th in birdie or better conversions. But we'll talk more about him next week ahead of the US Open, depending on how the preparation goes for the Sheffield native.